Good morning. You know, the hope out here is for some breaking news soon on the coastline just north of Half Moon Bay. That's because a series of storms brewing in the Pacific could swirl up the right size waves for the Maverick Surf Contest to be called. The variety of products here can range from this old school dynamic microphone. It's not exactly one we use at work today, but it still works. And then they've got this electron source or filament that helps build an electron microscope. Well, many concerned about privacy rights worry about innocent bystanders being recorded, but there are others who say the benefits shine much brighter, and this is in the sense that it could encourage professional behavior. These puppies, Maddox and Jake, are 2 of 6 on their way to Vancouver. They have 1 stopover and just over 500 miles to go on their way to a new home. Okay, well, the mayor has no scheduled public appearances today, but we are told that he may meet with the hotels and its striking union workers as soon as Sunday. Reporting live from San Francisco, I'm Teresa Garcia, ABC 7 News.
Right now, ABC 7 News begins with breaking news.
Well, there has been another discovery in the search for evidence that might connect 2 cold kidnapping cases to Philip Garrido. Today, investigators found yet another bone. Now, this makes 2 so far on Garrido's property over the last 4 days of searching and digging. ABC 7's Laura Anthony is live near Antioch, where, Laura, investigators still have work to do, though, defining whether those bones are human, right? The Schwarzenegger administration handed over its plan today to reduce California's prison population, but it is not what the court ordered. The plan submitted today reduces the number of inmates by 23,000 over the next 2 years. However, the total falls short of the 40,000 ordered by a special panel of federal judges to relieve overcrowding, which courts have found violates inmates' constitutional right. And Governor Schwarzenegger today promised to keep California at the cutting edge of the international use of renewable energy. Now, he spoke at a South San Francisco green energy plant called Solazyme. Solazyme uses algae to reduce a 150 million year process to convert biomass like sugarcane and sawdust into crude oil, and this happens in just a few days. Salinas Company is recalling 2 brands of spinach after routine testing found salmonella contamination. The California Department of Public Health says Ippolito International is recalling nearly 2,000 cartons of bunched spinach. They were packed under the Queen Victoria and Tubby labels. The spinach was distributed to several states, including California as well as Canada. No illnesses, though, have been reported. Okay, those crossing the Golden Gate Bridge this afternoon caught a glimpse of what could have turned into a large fire in the Marin Headlands. Fortunately, though, firefighters made quick work of it. You see some Sky 7 pictures there. This fire started just before 1 o'clock in a wooded area above Kirby Cove. There were water drops from choppers. Planes also were helping out those ground crews keep it to just about a half an acre. There is no word on the cause, but an investigator says it would have been much worse if there had been strong winds today. Well, government health officials today said the first doses of the swine flu vaccine will likely be the nasal spray version. Now, this vaccine will be available in October. It is approved, though, only for healthy people ages 2 to 49. This nasal spray, it's called Flu Mist, is not recommended for pregnant women, children younger than 2, and people with asthma and other chronic respiratory diseases. Okay, well, we're very close to fall, but it doesn't feel like that, does it?
And it's going to feel even less like that soon. Meteorologist, we'd end summer with a bang for you.
Well, absolutely. A bang it will be if Michael Finney joins us here.
Absolutely.
We're going to feed stuff.
You. That's right.
Yum.
You're just here for the food, aren't you?
I asked you earlier, is it real? Is it warm?
No. It's real and it's warm.
Good morning. You know, the hope out here is for some breaking news soon on the coastline just north of Half Moon Bay. That's because a series of storms brewing in the Pacific could swirl up the right size waves for the Maverick Surf Contest to be called. Now, the contest, if it's a go, could happen as early as next Tuesday, making it the earliest one ever. So if the swells hold up, they'll be asked on Sunday to vote by email whether or not to call the contest, and then they have 48 hours to get out here and ride those Maverick waves. That would make Maverick's contest as early as Tuesday. Reporting live from near Half Moon Bay, I'm Teresa Garcia, ABC 7 News. We just found out from one of the Concord lieutenants that 2 officers were involved in this shooting. Both fired their weapons at this one suspect who also drew a gun at them. Now, take a look behind me. First off, you've got the crime scene truck that just pulled up. So those forensic investigators have gone down the street. That's Ashbury down there, where you see some other patrol unit cars. What happened at 2:30 this morning is that a man was walking down the street on Clayton Road. This is just about a block from downtown, so Clayton's a fairly big road. They spotted this man who they believe fit the description of a man wanted for several robberies. They're not very clear at this point whether those robberies were here in Concord or elsewhere, but He fit the description. They tried to stop him. He ran down Ashbury and at one point turned around, pulled his weapon out and pointed it at them. We don't know yet whether the suspect fired his gun, but those two police officers did fire their weapons, hitting him. Now, the extent of his injuries, they're not revealing that at this point, but he was taken to John Muir Hospital. The suspect is a man in his early 20s. That is all we're being told right now. For those who live in the Concord community, perhaps going to work this morning along Clayton Road, it's a fairly well-traveled thoroughfare. You will see many patrol units out here. Part of the lane is blocked, and all of Ashbury, which extends down one residential block, is also closed off for this time. They say the investigation will continue through the morning. They're also trying to see whether any gunshots actually pierced any property, such as someone's home or the car. So there's a lot of work still to be done out here. Live in Concord, Teresa Garcia, ABC 7 News.
ABC 7's Teresa Garcia reports.
Flames were shooting out from the rooftop of a Palo Alto home this morning, taking over what began as a small fire in an upstairs bedroom.
The smoke detector in the hall went off.
I woke up and there was just a bunch of heat and smoke, and I got out of my bed. I went to the room next to my bedroom, and that's where the fire was.
24-year-old John Beamer says he tried to put it out but was repelled by the heat.
A piece of a desk set was on fire. All right, and that was an inferno.
He was running around trying to contain it. So we persuaded him to get out because we didn't know how things would develop.
The family all escaped safely, and their neighbors on University Avenue say it was good timing because the fire grew so fast.
The way they accelerated was unbelievable. And within 2 minutes, and the smoke was billowing, and within 10 minutes, the whole house is afire. So it's just scary to see what can happen to a house like this.
The Palo Alto Fire Department arrived shortly after 7 a.m., but crews' efforts were cut short within 20 minutes.
We were attempting an interior attack, and we had some electrical wires go down, and we had to pull the crews out and go defensive.
While much of this grand old home built in 1901 is now destroyed, there is also a safety lesson to share. The fire is believed to have started from a burning candle.
I must have not put it out. So, just remember that.
Well, the house fire has been put out, but now the danger of the roof collapsing is keeping those crews from entering to recover valuables from the first floor. Meanwhile, the traffic is still being diverted off that major thoroughfare behind me of University Avenue, and it's expected to be that way for the next several hours while the cleanup is completed. Live in Palo Alto, I'm Teresa Garcia, ABC 7 News. It's estimated this morning's Twitter takedown affected at least 100,000 people worldwide, and it wasn't just between everyday friends. For example, for Sarah Brown, wife of former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, her Twitter feed at one point was redirecting users to hardcore porn sites. The hack hit well-known users here in the U.S., too.
It's a major embarrassment when the White House press secretary has to send out a notice saying, ignore my previous tweet. That's the real problem.
Tech analyst Larry Magid says the problem arose from a vulnerability on Twitter's website when hackers exploited a security flaw.
The code was injected into their tweet, so if a user just moused over their tweet, they could be sent to a porn site or a pop-up message could come up.
One user we spoke with says he's glad he hadn't checked his account yet this morning. While he won't be affected now that Twitter says the flaw was fully patched as of 7 a.m., it's making users think twice about tweeting.
The more and more I use it, the more it's hard to think of things like that, like, oh, maybe this could be, I could get something bad going on Twitter, but it seems like a relatively safe place.
The so-called XSS attack only affected visitors to Twitter.com. Those who use third-party software like TweetDeck or Twitterific to send or read tweets were not affected. While this flaw has been fixed, it may not be over. Some call the popular, fast-growing social medium a fat target for hackers.
This was one of many wake-up calls for Twitter. Twitter knows that they're under attack, and they just have to have the best security possible.
Now, many people not only use social media like Twitter and Facebook to communicate with their friends, but also for business purpose. And certainly, when you get security breaches that can send out such embarrassing messages, that can be even more damaging. And tech analysts say that should make people like Twitter want to jump on shoring up their security even better. Live in Mountain View, Teresa Garcia, ABC 7 News. What do these mushrooms and this pile of used coffee grounds have in common?
mushrooms, just biologically, they grow really well in hardwoods. And so coffee acts like a hardwood biologically, and we can grow them pretty well in that.
Fascinating combination. And no, these mushrooms aren't caffeinated produce. They just absorb all the coffee ground's nutrients. So why in the world are two new graduates from UC Berkeley's business school, Nick Hill-Aurora and Alejandro Velez, growing mushrooms for a living?
I was a business poli-sci student, Alex was business education, so neither of us had any background in mycology, but I think we both had the passion for trying to do something, like, one, on our own, and two, that kind of looked after the community and had a social conscience as well.
The pair was inspired after hearing a Cal guest lecturer talk about mushroom growing as an innovative way to fight malnutrition.
I heard of the fact that a lot of women in urban areas in Colombia and East Africa were using the coffee pulp to grow gourmet mushrooms.
Seeded by a $5,000 social innovation grant from Cal, they researched and launched a for-profit social venture called Better Ventures. Better stands for Back to the Roots. Now, the goal is to be a sustainable company focused on social responsibility, and they're accomplishing this by diverting one of America's largest waste streams out of Bay Area landfills.
And we realized America's absolutely addicted to coffee.
So it dawned on them they could help the environment, at least locally, by collecting a ton of coffee waste a week from local shops like Pete's Coffee and Whole Foods Allegro Cafe.
We get them straight from here.
And then at a local warehouse in Emeryville, a small crew of employees packs bags full of grounds, growing hundreds of pounds of gourmet oyster mushrooms a week. After harvesting, they're sold at local farmers markets and grocery stores. This Whole Foods store in Berkeley is one of 7 in the Bay Area that buys these Better oyster mushrooms. Now, each store orders about 15 pounds a week, and apparently they've been pretty popular because the last delivery already sold out. But this is about more than growing mushrooms. The post-mushroom coffee grounds are then reused as compost, which is sold to consumers, and some is also donated to local school gardens and nonprofit urban farms. In its first year, Better Ventures is already growing a profit and making a difference in the community. Teresa Garcia, ABC 7 News.